Ohio State fans, here we go. Only a few more days left until the Big Ten championship game featuring the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes and the number 2 Indiana Hoosiers. And the real feeling is that that game couldn't feel less important. Anthony Moeglin here alongside Kevin Woidke on this episode of the Buckeye Breakdown podcast here on the Buckeyes Roundtable page. You know the drill. Go subscribe. Go follow us over on Buckeyes Roundtable here. As you see, Christmas Kevin. Kevin, what's going on? Beautiful sweater, getting ready for the tis the season, I suppose.
Absolutely. Office Christmas party today. It was fun. Did a little bowling and had a good time. So that's
what are you on the bowling? What are you at the bowling?
Terrible. I crack 100, but that's about the extent of it.
I feel like you are throw it 100 miles an hour and see what happens.
It depends.
Are you a bumpers guy? Do you have the bumpers out tonight?
No bumpers.
Okay.
No, I asked. They said no.
Okay, at least you have a little pride left in you on the bowling alley. But Kevin, crazy day. The recording of this episode here is a day removed from National Signing Day, which would have been yesterday. As we sit here today, and holy cow, dude! From start to finish, it was wild. It got off to like a normal start. Then we'll get into some of the recruits that signed and didn't sign. But at about 9 a.m., Kevin, it was announced that Brian Hartline accepted the job as the USF South Florida Bulls head coach. And it kind of sent shockwaves through the team and through the recruiting class. Kevin, what was your initial reaction when you got the news that Hartline was moving on down to South Florida?
So, I mean, I was a little shocked, but I also am not terribly surprised because I think he needs to – it's his first year calling plays. He needs to go somewhere like Coach Meyer went to BG before he went out to Utah and then to Florida. I think Hartline needs to do a similar progression. I don't think he's there yet. He doesn't have much of it. I mean, this is his 8th year coaching. I don't think it would have been good for him to take over Penn State. Not saying he couldn't have done it. I just think that's a big risk and a big load for somebody that is younger than a decade in coaching. But, it also, like, it happens. Like, it happened to Alabama all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It just, when you're a premier program like this, that's just what happens. Like, thinking back on, like, the OCs at Alabama, like, it went, like, Dable, Sarkisian, Bill O'Brien, like, all these people that are just guys who come in and everyone wants them.
Yeah.
Like, they're just that good at what they do. That's the reason they're coaching at this level, and that's the reason they're coaching at there's blue blood, and then there's gold standard. Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, those are gold standards.
Yeah. And Kevin, he's been, not only does he have the resume of being the play caller at Ohio State and being the receivers coach, but he's got this resume as an incredible recruiter, right? You know, a large reason why Ohio State's had the best receiving classes in the past decade, if you will, is because of him. When he came in 2018, he went from a good receiver room and elevated to the best receiver room and created first-round draft picks. I mean, the top receiver in the NFL right now is an Ohio State guy. Emeka Egbuka should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year until he got injured. You look just down the list of guys that has come through here, and then you're looking at the team this year. You got Jeremiah and Carnell Tate. Jeremiah is going to be arguably a top 5 pick next year, and Carnell Tate, is going to be a first rounder. And these are the guys that he brought in, and obviously that adds to the allure of a guy like Brian Hartline. Now, Kev, I want to ask you this and put your head coaching hat on. Do you agree that because we've seen it now 2 different ways here the past couple of days? Do you agree with Ryan Day and the staff saying, "Hey, we're going to keep you on for the playoff run to call this out"? Do you think it's cool? What are your thoughts on that from both the Ohio State side and then the Brian Hartline side?
I think it's fine. I think when you see coaches leave, it's institutions that have the power to tell them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the essence of, not the one they're leaving, but, like, obviously Lane Kiffin claims he wanted to stay and they said no, but, like, USF cannot tell Brian Hartline, "Hey, we need you in the building tomorrow," because it's USF.
Yeah.
Like they can't. He'll look at him and be like, "Okay, then I don't want the job."
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. Your job isn't enticing enough to tell him he has to do that. So that's where I don't mind it. I don't rock the boat if you don't have to. Like
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of how I feel. Like I like the idea of keeping him around. I like the idea of people. I mean, finishing the job. Like there's a
Mhm.
reason Lane. I don't know why. Well, no, I know why Lane Kiffin left because he's Lane Kiffin. But it's just you saw it at other places where a coordinator gets a job and they finish out the season. When it was arbitrary bowl games, they'd leave early, but when it was like CFP stuff, they'd stick around. That's just
Yeah.
how it went.
It was this new standard of, hey, you're going to have to leave your team high and dry in the most important, most critical stretch of football there is all season long. Just sucks. And we talked about it the other day. We won't get back into it, on our show earlier in the week. But like the schedule in college football really sucks for this because unfortunately, what Ohio State's going to experience or hopes to experience is not the norm. The norm is that these coaches get up and leave. This is certainly an outlier where he takes his job and then sticks around. I think it's great for the Buckeyes, certainly to keep that continuity in house. He's calling plays. They got a rhythm. They're doing all the right things, but keeps him there and keeps it pushing forward, which is a very good thing. I'm curious though, Kevin, as stuff starts to come out. Obviously, everything you see on Twitter, you take it with a grain of salt. But I don't know, man. At what point is there a point, maybe after this Big Ten championship game, if like guys aren't going to be lured down to go to Southern Florida, but like I don't know, man. They're keeping that connection there is kind of odd. Like Jeremiah's not going to South Florida, but maybe Bryson Rogers, maybe Mylan Graham, maybe some of these guys start to talk to him and look outside at the snow-covered fields and be like, damn, a beach sounds all right now. Are you concerned about that at all in the slightest?
No, because I just think that's stupid of these receivers to do.
Yeah.
I think that I think there's a reason Deion Sanders went to Colorado because he knew that no matter how many good recruits he got down Jackson State, they weren't going to get the looks they needed to against the talent they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these receivers are going to go follow him. Now, if he was going to a Florida State or a Miami, it's a different conversation. But the other thing is like this isn't uncommon for Ohio State. Like thinking about like Jeff Hafley, who went to take the BC job, and he coached out that last game against Clemson and coached well. It wasn't like the defense didn't do well. It was a close game. That was a good team. Like we kicked 3 field goals inside the 10-yard line on the first 3 drives. That's what lost us that game, not the defense, not anything else really. But like it at a bigger institution, you see this more often than not, where it's different when it's the head coach. Because I think about the head coaches, they could leave with his entire coaching staff, and I just don't see that. I also think that Brian Hartline, being an Ohio State guy, he has a little bit more respect for Ohio State than that to do that. Because if you do that, you burn any bridge of being the guy they call when Ryan Day decides to hang up the whistle.
Yep. And that's also part of it too. I think what you said was perfect. But that's part of it too, is like, hey, not only would it have been probably too much to chew or to bite off to like go take the Penn State job or another job like that, it also like go get some reps when the day comes that Ryan Day decides to leave Ohio State or it's time. If Hartline goes in and builds a winner down at USF and maybe gets like a lower level, power 4 program and gets them rolling a bit, guess who's going to be a number 1 option for the Buckeyes when that time comes around? It would be a guy like Brian Hartline. So yeah, you're right. Don't burn any bridges. That's a metaphor for this. It's a metaphor for life too. Like you never know when that stuff starts to circle and come back around. But another element of this, Kevin, was the reaction the chain reaction that it caused on like the most important day of the future of the program. This news dropped at like 9 a.m. On National Signing Day, and it had a direct effect on the on Ohio State's class. First one was Caden Wyatt-Dixon, who flipped from Ohio State to USC. That one wasn't as much of a surprise because he's a California kid, and the rumors were starting to kind of float a little bit that he might flip. The other one was Bay from Tennessee, or Legend Bay, excuse me. I always call him Athlete Bay because he's listed as an athlete, but Legend Bay. And this one, man, this story is sad as heck. Like, if any of it is true, that what's coming out that his parents and his mom are not letting him sign the letter of intent because they don't want him to go to Ohio State or like whatever that is, man, that's horrible. But anyway, he flips back to Tennessee. And then the big one is Chris Henry Jr., right? A guy who's been locked and loaded as an Ohio State Buckeye. You were on this from Jump Street. You need your credit because this was all in our text message and our Slack channels. It was like, hey, he announced his commitment. And you were like, hey, no, Ohio State hasn't posted it yet. And they didn't post it, and they didn't post it, and you texted me, still haven't posted it, and then bang, it comes out that he's reconsidering and may land in Oregon. A lot of stuff happened yesterday, and a lot of flips and a lot of uncharacteristic stuff for Ohio State, and all of it felt like it had something to do with Hartline making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose all the recruits. Buckeyes fans aren't going to like this. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose all the recruits from this year's class. I think we have plenty of guys in the program to fill that void. Thinking about it, we've had Carnell, Jeremiah. It's rare you have a guy start for 3 straight years as your best receiver. But thinking about the guys coming up, Rogers, Graham, will be fun. This kid from Texas looks good, who's signed already. The flip side is you got to tell them. Because if you don't, put the sour taste in their mouth, and they'll transfer the minute they can.
Yeah.
They'll hit that first window they can hit, and they are gone. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it is. Like, they'll pull their letter. They'll say, hey, I don't want to go anymore. And then it becomes a huge uproar and a huge publicity thing. Like, it sucks. It sucks that these guys, they buy these high school football players buy the coach. They don't buy the university. They can get lured there, but you got to have a connection with the coach. And when a coach leaves, it happens at every program. You lose some credibility with these kids. Yeah. You do. Like, they don't. You look at Ohio State when it's like, yeah, we've had 9 receivers in the first draft in the first round. You got Chris Carter, you got Michael Thomas, and then the rest of them were all, and Ted Ginn, I think, maybe, but like, thinking about, like, from when I was there, it was Michael Thomas, but then there was nobody in 2016. Then 2017 comes around, and the 2016 draft was Michael Thomas. 2017, no receivers. 2018, I don't think any receivers in the first round. But then you hit the tear. You get Terry McLaurin. Then you go Chris Olave. Then you go Garrett Wilson. Then you go, or Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in the same draft. You want to count Jameson Williams? You can. I don't think that's what they're counting. But, like, a lot of these guys are Hartline guys. Terry McLaurin was coached by Hartline. Terry McLaurin was coached for a good chunk of his career, especially his playing career, by Hartline and Zach Smith, but Hartline too. Like, that's the difference. That's where, it's going to be a hard question for these kids to ask, because that's what you were buying. You were buying a ticket to the best possible development in football for the next level in the eyes of these recruits, and then they showcase it at the next level. Yeah, it isn't just high draft picks that flare out. All these number one picks are, aside from Chris Olave, who's had some concussion issues, are elite receivers in the league.
Yeah, no, they're top half receivers in the league, and you're so right. Like, stuff that gets missed in the recruiting process is like these kids get on every campus. They travel around the country. They go into every recruiting room, and it's the best plate of food, and it's, hey, we're going to take you on the nicest tour and all that stuff. The relationship they build, not only with the head coach touches and talks to everybody. The relationship you build with your position coach is the number one thing, because you know this, I know this. You spend every waking second at the facility, in text messages, in study groups with your position coach. Your position coach is texting you, making sure you're asleep, making sure you're awake. That's the guy who becomes that's your guy, right? And they do buy into that. And that's not to say, Kevin, that they're not going to get an elite, an elite offensive coordinator, an elite receivers coach to come in. They are for sure. But guess what? Whoever it is didn't recruit these guys, didn't recruit Chris Henry. And, the guys who did recruit Chris Henry are Lincoln Riley at USC and Dan Lanning at Oregon. And guess what? They're still there. And whoever their position coaches are at those other schools, those guys are still there. And that can get a little enticing because this is uneasy, man. No matter how you cut it, this is you're right. You have to tell them. The timing of this was horrible for sure, and not intentionally, but it just was the way it shook out. And as I'm seeing, and all of it's hearsay and rumors and stuff, but maybe Ryan Day was a little blindsided by this. Some people and some scuttlebutt reports are like he was kind of shocked when the news was dropped. So maybe it caught some people off guard, maybe it didn't. But regardless, Ohio State's recruiting class drops to, it was 7th when I made our show here. It's now 6th. They're up to 6 in the country. So while everyone's panicking and freaking out, it's still the 6th best recruiting class in the country. 1 5-star at the moment, 19 4-stars, and 9 3-stars. They're behind Georgia, who's got the number 5 class. Bama, who's got the number 4 class. Notre Dame has the number 3 class. Oregon's the number 2. USC is the number 1. Oregon, Notre Dame, and Bama all have 4 5-star recruits coming into their classes. So Ohio State misses out on some of the big ones, but they still get a plethora of really, really, really good football players to continue what's going on in Columbus here. So all of this is to say we just spent the first half of our show talking about everything other than the game on Saturday. Now, Kev, we got you, or did we lose you?
Let me double check.
We got a black screen on our side. There we go.
Perfect.
We got you back. But all of that is to say that we just spent the first 15 minutes talking about everything other than a football game. And it's one of the bigger football games that Ohio State has, and even this football team. But before we even get to that, some really cool awards for the Ohio State Buckeyes defense this year. They become the first team in Big Ten history to sweep all of the defensive postseason awards. Caleb Downs wins Defensive Player of the Year. Caleb Downs wins Defensive Back of the Year. Caden McDonald wins Defensive Lineman of the Year, and Arvell Reese wins the Linebacker of the Year award in the Big Ten. It just goes to show, and this underscores the fact that, dude, this team, this defense is historic. It's unbelievable, and they're being rewarded as such.
I mean, yeah, it is. I don't know who won the offensive awards for anything. I don't know how we didn't win any offensive awards if we didn't. But no, these defenders, I mean, that's just what this is. One of the best, if not the best defense college football's ever seen. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show with those awards.
It's amazing. Julian Sain wins Freshman of the Year, and Jeremiah Smith wins the Wide Receiver of the Year. These ones were released today. The defense was released on Tuesday. What day? I don't even know what day it is. Defense was released on Wednesday. The offense is released today. So we got a couple rolling in. Didn't win the Running Back of the Year. And I haven't seen anything on the offensive line. So all in all, just really solid stuff. I wrote about it on Saturday. We talked about it on Saturday after the game. Compared to some of the great defenses of all time, Kevin, this Ohio State stacks up better than the rest of them. And we'll see. We fast forward 15 years here. We'll see how many of those guys are wearing gold jackets down in Canton, Ohio, because this is the type of talent that this group has, and that they'll continue to take to the NFL. But now looking at the game, finally, let's talk about a football game on Saturday, because it's going to be a very, very fun one. Ohio State takes on the Indiana Hoosiers. It's number 1 versus number 2, and it is going to be Ohio State's toughest test when they face the Indiana offense. Fernando Mendoza is a very good quarterback. They got receivers, they got running backs, they got an offensive line that's going to be able to compete with Ohio State. Kevin, in your time watching Indiana this year, I know we haven't dug. We're not going to sit here and say we've watched all 12 games, all 22 of all 12 games. But what are some of the things that stand out when you watch this Indiana team?
So I haven't watched really any Indiana games. I watched the end of the Penn State game. I forget. I was listening to something. They said either if you take away the running game or if you take away the passing game, if you make them one-dimensional, it makes it even more difficult for them to play their style of football. So I think that's got to be the goal.
Yeah.
I think that has got to be and this is kind of parlaying this will also be my key to the game, but it's just making them become one-dimensional and making them uncomfortable. Like thinking about just the game we just played.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped them from running the ball, and then they didn't pass the ball because they felt the need to start the run, and then they were too preoccupied to start the run that they never threw the ball. I'm
Yeah.
not saying Indiana did the same thing. I think they're a better team than who we just played, but I think that if you can rattle their cage early and then get a couple touchdowns and then just CJ Donaldson them to death, that's the plan. That's the whole game plan. On the defensive side is to make them feel you. And
Yeah.
that's how I'd say stop them is
Mhm.
hit them when you can. Hit them hard when you can. Bring them into
It,
the ground. If someone's being held up, knock him down. Don't
yeah.
just let the whistle blow and it end. Like land on them. Like
Yeah.
you gotta lean on these teams, especially at this point in the year, and make them uncomfortable and get them out of their comfort zone, like we did to Tennessee, like we did to Oregon, like we did to Texas, and like we did to Notre Dame to end the year last year.
No,
Just
no,
lean
no
on them.
question. Yeah, there's no question about it. One of the things about this Indiana group is that they pound teams, right? They absolutely throttle their opponents. It's very interesting. I'm just looking at their schedule as a whole right now. They actually had a close game in week 1. They beat Old Dominion 27-14, and then they went on a war path. Beat Kennesaw State 56-9, beat Indiana State 73-0, beat Illinois. Everyone remembers this Illinois game. This was like a super hyped game. Indiana was ranked number 19. Illinois was ranked number 9. Finally, had cracked the top 10. They go into Bloomington and get the brakes beat off them, 63-10, Indiana over Illinois. And then they go to Kinnick and are in just like this nasty dogfight of a game. They come back to win 20-15, and then they go out to Eugene. Right, a tough 2-game stretch there for the Hoosiers. They go out to Eugene in a very impressive 30-20 win over the Ducks. Come back home for a nice win over Michigan State. Absolutely boat race. And this was at a time where UCLA was hot. Boat race UCLA 56-6. They beat Maryland 55-10. They have an amazing comeback against Penn State, which, not a good win, but winning in Happy Valley is a win nonetheless. They have that touchdown on that final play, which was pretty crazy. And then they beat Wisconsin 31-7, and then they curb stomp Purdue 56-3. They're just kind of embarrassing teams and doing it in impressive fashion. Fernando Mendoza leads the way at the quarterback position. These two groups kind of mirror each other when you're looking at this game. Ohio State's guys all have a little bit more than Indiana's. Like Fernando's about 400 yards less than Julian. Fernando's got 32 touchdowns to Julian's 30. They both have thrown 5 interceptions. They're both playing very good football. In the backfield, they do run it. Roman Hemby is their lead back. He's got just under 900 yards rushing. He's got 6 touchdowns on the year compared to Bo Jackson, who's got almost 100 yards more than him and 5 touchdowns on the year. Again, this is just back and forth. Omar Cooper Jr. Is their guy. He's their receiver, 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, a little bit smaller of a guy, but a hooper nonetheless. 58 catches, 804 yards, and 11 touchdowns on the year. Same number of touchdowns as Jeremiah has. So it's going back and forth. This will be Ohio State's toughest test in an opposing offense. It will be Indiana's toughest test in an opposing defense, and that's a surprise to absolutely nobody, as Ohio State's got the best defense in the country. So, Kev, you hinted at your keys to the game. Anything else to add, or did you hit everything you wanted to touch?
I'd also say this team likes to run a lot of plays. Don't give them that chance. Yeah. If you can get them out, the key to the game is condensed drives.
Mm-hmm.
Get the ball in the offense's hands for as long as we can have it, because we're known to just pound salt and keep pounding the ball until we get it within range, and then when we need a strike, we take it. And I think that's got to be the game plan. They're gonna try to go fast. They're gonna try to run a lot of plays on you. They're gonna try to tire you out because this defense hasn't played a lot this year, and that's just a fact. They haven't been in a game where they've had to play a ton of snaps, and this is where conditioning comes in. This is where all the off-season work comes in, where these guys just got to be ready. Hey, this is going to be a dogfight. Sorry, I dropped my phone there for a second. This is going to be a dogfight. We're going to need you. We're going to need you bad, like they did against Washington for that first half, where it's hey, this is a good defense you're going against. You're going to have to be right there and show them why you're better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my key is try to condense those drives to give the offense as much time as they can get.
No doubt. I think the complementary part to that is on offense, right? When Ohio State's got the football, right? Have those extended drives. Give your defense a rest because, they are going to be challenged play after play after play. For me, Kevin, it kind of goes off of a little bit what you said. Ohio State hasn't had to play like 4 quarters of defense, not for any other reason than they're killing teams and just murdering and suffocating teams. But if this thing gets into the fourth quarter, like there's a world where it's, let's just say it's 17-14 Ohio State or, 10-7 or 10-3 or 13-3. Play a full 4 quarters. You have to play a full 60 minutes against these guys because, they haven't done it yet this year. And this will be, in my opinion, it's going to be a 60-minute game. I think Ohio State does get it done. There's a cliffhanger for Saturday's show, but I think it's going to be a fun challenge, but it's going to be a challenge nonetheless for the Buckeyes. So play full 60 minutes is my key to the game. Do not let off the gas because we saw it against Penn State. They will not stop until there's triple zeros on the clock, and Ohio State's got to be prepared to do the same. I'm throwing one at you here, Kevin. I want your immediate reaction. Just breaking news: Billy Napier is finalizing a deal to become the next James Madison head coach after Bob Chesney left. Do you have any thoughts on that? Breaking news.
Are we playing NCAA here? Like that I get he needs a reset, and I get JMU is one of the better teams in the group of 5, but I'm surprised JMU's going for that. Like that's a premier job for an up and coming coach to take over. And they went with Billy. That's okay. I thought you were going to say it like Kentucky or something where they always make the wrong decision.
But Kevin, you're right. This isn't James Madison roundtable, but like last 2 coaches from JMU have gone. Kurt Signetti, and then the last one, Bob Chesney goes and gets the UCLA job. That is a perfect step for an up-and-coming young coach. But they go with Billy Napier. Doesn't mean anything for the Buckeyes. We'll see. That's a fun little story that's happening for JMU, who cracked the top 25 first time in their program's history. So Kevin's got to get home after a Christmas party. I have a birthday party to get to. So we got to get out of here on that. We're just a few short days away from the Big Ten Championship. Number 1 versus number 2. It's going to be a ton of fun. We will be on site on Saturday night. I'll be here. Brennan will be home. Kevin will be at probably a wedding or a birthday party or something. Our social butterfly here on the Buckeyes Roundtable. But make sure you're checked in with us. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and go and follow us over on Buckeyes Roundtable. Tons of content on all platforms. So for my partner Kevin Woidke, I'm Anthony Moeglin. We're getting out of here as we get you set for the Big Ten Championship game on Saturday. Keep it locked with all things Buckeyes here on the Buckeyes Roundtable.